You know that feeling, right? You're on a long, empty stretch of road, deep in the night. The whole world just shrinks down to you, your car, and that little slice of pavement lit up by your headlights. It's a primal kind of fear, and it's so common that it's become a cornerstone of horror. So today, we're going to pop the hood and really dissect the anatomy of the haunted highway to figure out why these stories get under our skin so effectively.
Just think about it for a second. That quiet, the isolation, the weird shapes your mind starts to see in the trees just beyond the light. Well, that feeling, that's the exact soil where these terrifying stories plant their roots. It's a situation we can all imagine ourselves in, which makes everything that happens next feel so much more real. And it almost always kicks off with a warning, doesn't it? Some piece of advice that you're not quite sure if you should take seriously, until it's way too late. This chilling line from a driver to his passenger is our doorway into 3 stories that perfectly break down how roadside horror really works. Okay, first things first, we've got to talk about the setting. Because in these stories, the highway isn't just a background. Oh no, it's basically its own character. It's an active player in the horror, a predator that's built the perfect stage to isolate its victims. And these are the ingredients for the perfect trap. It's always the dead of night. There's this creepy silence like a graveyard. You're boxed in by thick woods, you've got 0 bars on your phone, and you're miles from anywhere. Every single element is basically designed to make you feel completely and utterly alone, helpless. So who ends up on this perfectly designed stage of fear? It's never ghost hunters or paranormal experts, right? The victims are always just normal people, like you and me. And their normality is absolutely crucial, because it makes us put ourselves in their shoes, which makes their terrifying experiences feel disturbingly possible. So, let's meet our travelers. We've got Sandeep, a CEO heading to a wedding. Then there's Mohit, a dad taking his family on a vacation, and Shekhar, a taxi driver just working his nightly route. A business professional, a family man, a regular working guy. See? They're completely ordinary, which is exactly what makes them the perfect heroes for this kind of nightmare. Now, every haunted highway story comes down to one single critical moment, the encounter. But it's not just some random ghost popping out. It's something we're going to call the lure, a carefully crafted supernatural event that's designed to do one thing and one thing only: get the driver to stop the car. And here's the key. The lure is a test. It hits the victim with an impossible choice. Do you stop to help someone who looks like they're in serious trouble, or do you listen to that little voice in the back of your head screaming at you to just keep driving? The ghost, the entity, whatever it is, it's banking on your humanity. Let's look at Sandeep's story for our first example. The lure he faces starts with maybe the most innocent and, let's be honest, the most manipulative image you can imagine. A little girl, maybe 12 years old, all alone on the side of a highway in the middle of nowhere. And then the picture gets just a little bit weirder, a little more wrong. She's holding a broken doll. That one tiny detail shifts the whole scene from sad to genuinely creepy. I mean, it's a classic horror move for a reason. It twists childhood innocence into something that feels threatening. And this quote shows you how the lure gets inside your head. It's not just about what Sandeep is seeing, it's about what he's feeling. That prickly sensation of being watched, the paranoia, that deep down feeling that something is just profoundly wrong. The ghost isn't just standing there, it's actively messing with his mind. Now, Mohit's lure is totally different, but it does the exact same job. It's not a slow burn kind of creepy, it is a sudden, violent shock. He feels the thud of the car hitting something, he sees bodies fly. It's raw and it feels real. And then, poof, he looks and there's nothing there. The goal is the same though. Throw him off, make him stop, and make him question everything he thinks is real. And this right here, this is the absolute heart of the haunted highway story. The choice. Everything that's happened up to this point, the creepy setting, the lure, it's all been leading to this one single moment. The fate of our driver is going to be decided by what he does right now. And this is where the story kind of turns the camera around and points it at you. For real. What would you do? You see a kid who looks like she needs help, or you think you've just been in a horrible accident. Your compassion, your sense of what's right, is in a cage match with your survival instinct. So here it is, the brutal math of this kind of story. The choices and their consequences are laid out clear as day.
Sandeep remembers what his driver said, locks his doors, and stays put. He makes it out alive. Mohit and Shekhar, on the other hand, act out of kindness. They stop to help, and for their trouble, they get dragged into an absolute nightmare. The unwritten rule here is totally ruthless. On a haunted highway, being a good person can be a fatal mistake.
But these stories don't just end with a ghost jumping out at you. No, the real genius of modern horror is the twist ending. That shocking reveal that completely changes everything you thought you knew and delivers that final killer punch.
So what's wild is that our 3 stories give us 3 totally different kinds of twists. Sandeep ran into the classic luring ghost, a predator that uses your pity as bait. Shekhar, the cab driver, well, he found something more complicated, an avenging ghost. And then there's Mohit's story, which has the most mind-bending twist of them all, the unaware ghost.
This is the key line from Shekhar's passenger. At first, it just sounds like a threat, but it's really the ghost's entire mission statement. See, she wasn't a danger to Shekhar at all. She was a victim, and she was just using him as a way to get justice against the person who murdered her. The real monster wasn't the ghost in the car, it was the living guy in that apartment. But Mohit's story, oh man, this reveal is just masterful. The whole time he thinks he survived a crash, and he's fighting to save his family from this house of horrors. But every terrifying thing he sees is just his own spirit, trapped in a loop, unable to process the truth. And that final reveal, when he sees the police pulling bodies from the wreck and realizes it's his wife, his daughter, and him, that's not just a twist, it's an absolute tragedy.
And just when you think it can't get any worse, the story hits you with this gut punch. The police report shows that Mohit's family wasn't the first. They were just one of 24 families who died on that same stretch of road. That one number changes everything. It turns a personal horror story into a massive catastrophe, and it turns the highway itself into a serial killer.
So what's the big takeaway here? After digging into all this, you start to see that the ghosts, as scary as they are, they're really just the symptoms of a much bigger problem. The real bad guy is the place. The highway is this cursed thing, a predator that creates these lures and traps to feed itself. The real horror isn't in your passenger seat, it's in the actual pavement under your wheels.
And that brings us right back to that impossible choice. See, these stories aren't just for entertainment. They leave you with this haunting question that just sticks with you. They make you think about that dark stretch of road on your next trip, and they force you to ask yourself a very, very uncomfortable question. What would you really do?